Welcome, everyone, to the Leading Together podcast, Insights for Delaware's Tomorrow. In each episode, we sit down with the top minds and leaders in Delaware and across the nation to have them share their perspectives in ways that advance FSE's mission, which is to build capacity, raise awareness, and elevate school board leadership across our communities. Today, we have the great good fortune of being joined by a dear friend and colleague, Aaron Bass. He is one of Delaware's most dynamic education leaders. He's the CEO of Eastside Charter in Wilmington. And under his leadership, it's become known for making the largest gains and growth with student achievement, but also for bold innovation. He has a brand new state-of-the-art STEM lab that I hope will talk to us a little bit about. And he's made a facility that's actually changing what's possible for kids in the community. Now, to do this, no small feat, right? He raised $26 million, but he's just connected to the community in ways that go beyond anything I've ever seen. He supports families and students. He's got this mix of vision and energy. You'll hear when we talk to him, but he's just got this amazing mix of passion and intelligence that he brings. And so, Aaron, thank you so much for being with us here today. I appreciate you taking from me. I know you're very busy, got a lot of things getting ready for school to start.
Glad to be here. And we've only raised 25 million out of 27. So there's still actually hope for the dollars after this podcast, and then we'll do the additional 27 million. So
perfect. So if anybody after this wants to, we'll provide his contact information for you to reach out. Yep. So you are, as I said in the intro, right? And it's not just me saying that. Everyone who knows you and just looking at the work you've done, you're one of the most dynamic, energetic leaders that Delaware has. So why? Like, what's the motivation? Why do you do this?
Well, thank you for your kind words. I think the greatest title I've had is being a parent, and so a father. My son graduated from Eastside about 4 years ago. My daughter graduated, promoted to high school last year. And so what I believe and what our team believes is that if your children cannot go to the school in which you're leading, then you shouldn't be in education. And I think we have a lot of places where we throw other people's children and they make decisions for other people's children, as opposed to what is it that's in the best interest for my own child. And so I'm joined by staff members. It is not required for staff to put their children in school. And so we have a number of other staff that have placed their children in our school. And that means a lot to us. So in leadership, teaching, culture, mental health team, et cetera, our specialists have their children enrolled in the school. And so when we're having conversations with parents, it also shifts the dynamics because this decision impacts me as well as it impacts you.
I think that's a great point. I mean, you're saying, you're leading, everything you're doing for all of those kids there is the same thing that you would do for your own. And that's sort of where it comes from.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So innovation, all right. So the commitment is there. That's real. But you've just been an innovative leader in that space. I mean, how long has Eastside been around?
Eastside's been around since 1997. We're the oldest elementary charter in the state of Delaware. This is my 10th year at Eastside Charter, and I didn't realize that until we're doing our Suit Up Show Up, which is we invite everyone in the community to come out September 2nd, men, women, anybody. September 2nd, 7:30 to 8 o'clock. Just suit up and show up and greet kids. But that's my 10th year being here at Eastside. So it's our 10th year doing that.
Wow. So tell what do they do? So what happens? I was there last year. I thought it was great. Is actually a wonderful thing. But for those who on the audience who don't know what it is, describe it a little bit.
We just ask you to suit up and then just show up and greet our kids. We do this every day. So we play music. We high five, salute students, greet them every day. And it's a very welcoming first day of school for everyone to come in. And then our students and our staff also know there's a huge team behind us. And so I think you alluded to the STEM hub we just built, which is I think it's a great space we've been able to be a part of and create out of a need. So the innovation comes out of necessity. The median income in our current area is about $21,000 a year. We know that the issues in education are pervasive issues of poverty at the root of it. So if we're not able to address the issues of poverty, then we're not going to make the impacts in education. simply put, we figured that the number one industry in the state of Delaware is STEM. So science, technology, engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about
Mm-hmm.
our banking sector and math, the reason we pay 0% interest on tax, I mean, when we go eat anywhere or buy anything
Mm-hmm.
in Delaware, is not just because Delawareans are nice people. It's because of the corporate sector that's taking advantage of what takes place in Delaware. We appreciate it. It benefits us. Um, when you ask people what is the access point to these careers, no one has an answer. Most times you're just good in school. But if the
Mm-hmm.
school you went to is a school that failed you and you're now making $21,000 a year, then tell me that
Yeah.
access point for adults. And so simply put, we just said, look, let's build the only open access STEM hub in the entire
Mm-hmm.
state. We opened in January 2025, January 13th.
Mm-hmm.
We've had 2,000 people use the space so far. We've trained 245 adults in careers in STEM. So that's everything
Mm-hmm.
from real estate to lab assistants to nurses. We've done coding, we've done gaming, we've done a number of different careers. We're the first artificial intelligence summit here in the state at the STEM Hub, and we're just trying to expose people to careers and options that
Mm-hmm.
they could be doing better. That
Yeah.
benefits kids. It was a simple math equation. More money equals better situations.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, and what's it been like for some of the students to see adult learning happening in a space that sort of, schools like where I go to school, I'm a kid, I go to school, and now it's really you've redefined that.
I don't know if the students are fully benefited. There's parents that run around and are
Mm-hmm.
high fiving, and so that's pretty awesome that
Uh-huh.
you have students able to see their parents become a
Right.
lab tech and then get certified and can work into the STEM career. I think for young people, they have seen more of we have access to STEM. So I have
Mm-hmm.
5-year-olds that are learning how to code and use table saws. I have
Mm-hmm.
fifth graders that are now coding robots, and we have middle school students that are able to use our advanced manufacturing lab, our makerspace. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also, it's amazing, when we opened the building up, we had brief conversations with students, but students rose to the occasion. So you'll notice when you walk through the building different times of the year, it's an interesting environment because students know their value, they're welcome, and the
Mm-hmm.
space matches that. But also, it's not just in building a space; it's also in providing access. So they can
Mm-hmm.
now see how the gaming lab slash the esports slash the coding space
Right.
can boost their education. They
Yeah.
can walk into labs that are the same labs you would walk into in the Comores Center in Newark, in the Discovery Hub. Those are the same labs we have here. And so when they're doing science experiments with actual scientists,
Mm-hmm.
they realize this is a true connection that I'm making with my career path.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes the learning, it puts it in context and makes it real. I mean, I think a lot of times, no matter, for all kids, they kind of go to school, well, why am I learning this? But
Mhm.
you've unpacked that and made it so accessible for them and get that connection that I think leads to motivation or natural interest that then becomes self-sustaining.
That's the goal.
So this is an innovative project right there. Okay, 10 years. I mean, there is a long history of incremental successes. I think your achievement scores also speak to that. You've had great outcomes. How does this ripple out for Delaware? This is one example in one place, but I think you've solved, or you're working at solving a pretty complex problem, and there are
Mhm.
other places in Delaware that could benefit.
I, I think we're still building but creating a model. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's baffling to me that in education, we're the only industry that is responsible for recreating society.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're being told, good luck, do it on your own.
Uh-huh.
And so when it's time to try to figure out, well, we have schools all over the state of Delaware that are underutilized because those are same training grounds. Why is it
Mm-hmm.
that the only open access STEM hub is here at Eastside? You could do this anywhere in Sussex, anywhere in Kent, take the same school
Right.
space and train
Mm-hmm.
adults.
Yep.
Um, why is it that we focus? So we also focus on mental health here
Mm-hmm.
at the STEM hub. Anybody can come and get access to mental health services, and it's not just for Eastside; it's for the entire public. Same with our
Mm-hmm.
workforce development; that's for the entire public.
Mm-hmm.
It is that if you're able to improve the community,
Mm-hmm.
the students will be able to do better of our
Right.
school and other surrounding schools.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the push we're making is stop making educators feel like they need to do everything.
Mhm.
to try to recreate society. When in truth, we should be trying to figure out how do we wrap around more services into schools? How do we
Right.
have leaders that are able to engage with the public? And how are we able to make parents feel like there's more value to the school than just their
Mhm.
student being sent there for babysitting services?
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about earlier when I was saying like it's really cool that you've got adults and young people learning together, because I think that continuity or that continuum of learning, or you're always learning something. You can always learn, you can always grow. I do it, my parent does it, my older cousin does it. You know what I mean? I think that creates a mindset that
Yeah.
I think is valuable to feed in communities, but everywhere, any community. I like your idea about building a model. I think that's one thing that for First Aid Educate, that's what we're trying to do. We are the only provider of professional development services for public school boards in the state. That's the only thing that we do, looking to get people to run. But really what we're trying to do is build a model by seeing what worked in one place. Red Clay had a lot of success with this. Hey, maybe Woodbridge wants to learn a little bit from that, or Caesar Rodney had a great success doing this one initiative, or Capital with AI. And then how do we get people to sort of, everyone's solving their own problems, but then you make that available, because it should be just like the STEM hub. These great things should be everywhere in Delaware.
We agree. And that's what I don't think we've done well as a state is looking at where the areas of success are and then trying to
Mm-hmm.
build upon that.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
I find myself arguing more with people that are more focused on inputs than on outputs, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which only works in bureaucracy. It doesn't work in any successful sports, any
Mm-hmm.
successful business, anywhere else. Tell me, what
Right.
are the outcomes?
Exactly. Yep.
Mhm.
So I wanted to talk too about the wraparound services, and when you think about, actually, speak to the community, because this is another. You've done a great job connecting with the community, the work that's being done in Eastside. How did you learn to grow that muscle? Is it innate that you were always just as a young person you were connected to the community, and so it was easy for you to walk outside and meet people and kind of make the school bigger than the building and the parking lot?
Uh, so I'll actually plug for Eastside before I even came here. So Eastside Charter has been very active in the community well before I ever hit the scene in Delaware. And so this was Eastside's engagement by creating the Reach Riverside. It was incubated out of Eastside's board saying we have to improve the community. Let's focus on housing.
Mm-hmm.
Eastside was also able to do a lot of other services for the community well before I got here. And so that seed was already there. I think for me, I'm always interested in other people around me for authentic relationships. And so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, a lot of the people that have been supporting Eastside already have relationships either with myself, with other board members, with other school leaders and school
Mm-hmm.
staff. And so when it came time for us to say, okay, we're going to build a STEM hub, we were able to go from raising 300K per year to 12 to $13 million a year and fund a project in 2 years at $25 million, still with $2 million left out there. But it was also people that had already invested in Eastside. And we prove what we say we're going to do. So it would be easy to just say, give us this money. We're going to show you the results.
Mm-hmm.
And so the results are the fact that not only have we continued to offer services in STEM for adults, so anybody's able to walk in off the streets, our employers have actually seen 8 applicants to every 1 opening.
Wow.
So we're doing an 8-to-1 ratio. Out of the 245 people, we're seeing upwards of 8 people have applied for each of those spots. And the employers are now building robust pipelines, which are why they want to come back. And so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times it feels like in nonprofit work, it's always, we need you to give us something. We're sharing with employers, no, I'm going to build you a pipeline
Mm-hmm.
that you didn't have before. But the bigger thing for us is that we're providing access to people that also didn't have access to these employers before.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's phenomenal. One thing, and this is something I respect about you. I mean, I'm only new here like 2 years, right? But every time that I've seen you, and every time we've interacted, when I've seen the work that you've done, this idea that you do what you say you're going to do. I mean, it's kind of like an old school thing, but like I said, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to put all my energy behind doing this thing, and I'm going to tell you along the way, here's how I'm doing this thing I said I was going to do, and I think that's really inspirational.
and it's also, we want to model that for our children as well. So that it's not a maybe. It is, if this is what you're committing to, then this is what you need to do. And
Yeah.
also just teaching moral and characters to our children, and then also to adults around us as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, we focus on school boards, right? Public school boards, which is a little bit different than what a charter school, how a charter school operates, and how, what charter school boards are. But I think a lot of the things that you were talking about are also relevant for a school board. Just one example was like the wraparound services. So, identifying the need that there were more supports that were needed. How might that like parlay to a traditional public school district like Colonial or like, Caesar Rodney? How could boards start to think differently about what needs communities have and how to build an integrated infrastructure?
Yep. So one thing we've done for our wraparound services, you mentioned that earlier, so I apologize for not answering that question. We've just started a partnership with CEB. So we're using coaches, family coaches, to support our families. So a lot of times, look, a lot of the experiences that I had of being a teacher and teaching on an island are why we try to partner with as many people as possible. And the partnerships, there's so many partnerships out there that are budget neutral. So our workforce development ends up being budget neutral almost for Eastside. Our mental health is almost budget neutral. A lot of the pieces we do are just budget neutral, just in the collaborations. Now we have family coaches will be working with different families through some other philanthropic support we have from our partners, so that a family that is also dealing with trauma, homelessness, food insecurity, you name it, we now have somebody that our teachers don't have to jump out and do that work. Because I was the one in the early 2000s. I would teach all day long. Then I'm at people's houses all evening. I'm also trying to do my lesson plans. And then I'm also during the school day providing mental health services, because the school I was at didn't even have that.
Yeah.
And I burnt myself out to the point that I started figuring out, well, how can we do this better? So we keep trying to figure those pieces out. I think for the board, it's also very helpful that board members realize, one, you can't ask schools to undo 300 to 400 years of oppression in one country and feel like that's just going to fix that one student.
Right.
So we have to then try to figure out how do we build pathways, and that's what I'm working on with our partners at Reach Riverside, Teen Warehouse, and also Kingswood. Yet how do we have, when a baby is born, so pretty much as soon as they're born all the way through senior living, so from birth through age 90, what does that pipeline look like? And we keep trying to retool and we keep trying to add on to that. And I think having a board member that can have empathy for school leaders and also just say, one, we see you, and two, that we want to support the work that you're doing, and also let's open our mouths, because board members tend to be in different conversations and there's a hand there. And sometimes board members don't always know that, hey, let me connect you with this leader, with this superintendent, with this certain teacher that's trying to do this certain project. We have judges that come through Eastside and lawyers on a constant basis teaching young people about law, simply because we had somebody say, hey, do you want to have this opportunity?
Yeah.
Now I have 5-year-olds that want to become lawyers and judges. Too often they don't have access to lawyers and judges. I got sitting federal judges that walk in, and local judges, et cetera, that are having conversations with young people. And then also creating internships with them that are then able to support them through college and still build those relationships. And so even, again, going back to having parents that work at the school, my daughter's managing these opportunities as well. So I'm not just doing things, again, for other people. It is that it benefits my child and it benefits other people's children. So how do we build more robust systems like that?
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. Thank you for sharing that. It's a great example. It's really helpful, I think, to me, and I'm sure to the audience as well, to hear, one, that you're looking, or you're sort of always able to somehow identify potential for something, and then instead of solving like the unit level problem, you're looking to build a system that allows you to reconstruct or redesign. Because it's true, you're not going to undo 300 years of oppression by, just putting in a new reading program. I mean, there's a lot more that has to happen to build back. And this other point that you made, I just to because I have a couple other questions for you, but this idea of being empathetic, boards and leaders being empathetic to the work that school leaders and the educators are trying to do. It's hard, and people are pouring their heart and soul into this, and everybody wants to. We want to see everyone's reading at grade level, and I think encouraging each other along the way, knowing that we're going to get there, but we're not there right now. And just because we didn't get there today doesn't mean your effort didn't matter or you're not doing a great job. That gets lost, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. And I think it's also what I've been pushing more since I arrived is growth over achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at how schools are honored in Delaware, much like many other places, they will look at the proficiency numbers of a school and say, this is a really good school because they're 60% proficient, 80% proficient. This is a bad school because they're 20% proficient. Truth is, there are districts that are doing nothing for children. There are schools that are underserving children, all because if you're really clear with it, getting proficient on a state assessment means you're scoring about 55% correct. Anywhere else in America, 55% correct is failing.
It's not right. Exactly.
So we have kids that we're not seeing growth on the higher ends of our gifted and talented children, honor students. We're also not seeing students on the lower tiers performing better. And so if you're in an affluent environment, then children do well. If you're in a more working class environment, children don't do well. And so we've been looking at every individual student, tracking their data year over year. How are our students performing? What are the gaps that those certain students have? Having conversations with teachers about the data, having student level conversations about their growth, celebrating children that even went from below basic to a higher below basic, because you know what? That's awesome that you made growth. And this is how this has been consistent. Now we're able to see the growth of our students actually outperforming the state on a consistent level. While the state just released numbers, and if you look at the state numbers of the actual cohorts, you'll see that math across the state, students that start off in fifth grade about 4 years ago, eighth grade went down by 2%. They decreased. The same thing for math. Our students went down by 4%. 4% of the children that were proficient in fifth grade are not proficient by eighth grade, which means that we're not doing better as a state, nor have I been in conversations at a state level. Tell us about student level data. Tell us about how is Julia doing in fifth grade and where was she being? Performing, and we keep writing more reports, and it's a waste of time. Children are suffering. We're not collaborating, and so we're trying to figure out the stakes are way too high. So we're just jumping to do the work. Anybody wants to jump in? We're all here.
Yeah. No. So that's a great point. I'll talk a little bit about the data, and maybe you could share the last report that you did, not with the numbers that just came out, but what you've seen, the trends over time and the improved performance, because you've accomplished some amazing things at the school and your faculty and the students themselves. I mean, everyone's sort of responsible for that success. But I do think it's an interesting point. And one thing we really care deeply about, I do personally, but the organization does, is making sure that data is a little bit more accessible and that people have a way of digging in and understanding. Not everyone wants to download the entire file and, play with Excel for 3 days, so we need to figure out how to, some of us, like you and I, will do that, right? And we find that interesting and curious for whatever reason, but it needs to be more available. And this point that you're making about the cohort, tracking the kid who was in third grade in 2000, where are they now, and what is that, how is that group performing? It's not published in that way. It's not accessible to the public,
which is a problem. And again, that's a choice that our state has made. That's a choice that our Department of Education, our legislators have made. And I'm constantly going, hey, why are we making this decision? Because you're not seeing how growth takes place.
Yeah. So tell the audience about the growth and like just the last year's trends when you looked at where you were at for the 24-25 school year.
So we saw that our children in English, so fifth through eighth grade, our students increased by 25% in English, compared to the state, which went down in English by 4%, those same students. So our students went up by 25%, the state went down by 4%. We saw in math, our students fifth grade were underperforming, and then by eighth grade outperformed the state. So they went up by 34%. This is the same cohort of students across the state went down by 2%.
Wow.
And this is based off of 2025 new data just came out. The embargo report came out. And so we're glad that our students are showing continued growth over time. And it's a long trudge. It's a slow walk. At the same time, we're now focusing our efforts on how to make sure students in third grade and fourth grade are coming to us proficient. So can we increase from being 10% proficient in third grade to actually 20%, 50%? And we're proving that with our kindergarten through second grade groups that are now moving into the higher levels. The big thing for us is anytime a parent walks in, we should be able to say, hey, your child is improving, and these are the steps that we've done. These are the things you've done as a parent, and how can we continue to offer more support? So wraparound services are huge when we can say, here's job opportunities, here's housing, here's a wellness plan, and actually New Kingswood. Here's where your team can go for extra support because we know they left us, but here's some of our partners that can work with them on applying to high schools, support throughout high school, applying to college. You want to go a different route into the different services? We already have training paths that you can do without college. But all these conversations are part of us trying to figure out how do we solve this huge problem. The results are great. They're good because we're seeing this growth. Now we're looking at how do we have a better starting block, because if we were doing that, we'd be graduating 80% of our students proficient, which is on par with the top quintile economically in the state of Delaware and also across the nation.
Yeah, well, I'm fully behind you. If anybody's going to do it, I think you're the right person at the right time. And what I like about what you just said was you're demystifying the past. And this is just we're nearing time, and so I want to make sure we talk a little bit about your leadership. But that's what this last answer for me really surfaces. I haven't once in this entire conversation heard anything about I. Everything you're doing is about building a we, about engaging others, finding what people can bring, being inclusive, right? And so I just want to commend you on that, because I think a lot of times people with a lot of responsibility tend to think about, them and their role and, as the head, but really everything you've said, and I think it's a great testament to your character, that you see everybody playing a part, and you're just trying to make more space for more people to contribute.
I've grown tired trying to do it myself, so I definitely just want to wait.
All right, so tell me, being a leader, being a school leader, what is it? What are some of the things that you've learned? How do you stay focused on the kids? There's a lot. You talked about sort of the state reporting metrics, and there's elected officials. There's all of this stuff in the environment. How do you stay centered as a leader?
My center is just knowing my why, and so every day when I come to work, I have to spend time with our students. I have to spend time in classrooms because that's my why. I have to spend time in conversations with parents and with our staff because that's my why. And then the other piece is just trying to empower those around me. And so if I've realized in leadership, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you selected the wrong room. You created that environment where you are that person. And truth is, I'd rather learn from other people. So I'm consistently trying to learn from others, consistently inside of Eastside as well as outside. And then my job is to empower people around me to be successful. And then I've learned in leadership that when a team is successful, it's a we. And when the team is failing, it's an I. And so I've taken many lumps in my career in education. I'm going to take many more in the future. And I have to consistently look back and go, what have I done to create the environment for this to not improve where we needed to? And then how do we make our team shine the way they want to?
Yeah, I think that's remarkable. I mean, and it's such a great example. Do you think boards sort of have to kind of do the same thing, right? Their role is for public school boards, they select and evaluate the superintendent. Really, they can provide helpful feedback, access to resource, create a bigger we, right? And so that district superintendent doesn't have to feel like they're out there all by themselves, but rather that they have a network of support that's around them that continues to grow.
Yeah, and definitely spending time to be empathetic and learn more about the school leaders, the superintendents, because that's the only way the board will be successful. It is through governance. It is not through execution. And the more we empower those that execute, the better off the district, the schools will be.
Aaron, thank you so much for spending time with us today. This was an incredible conversation. You've shared so much. Couple pullaways just to highlight for the audience to wrap up what you talked about. Here's what I heard. innovation comes out of necessity, and then so you're always looking. There's a difficult situation, and you can find your way out of it. But really, what schools need to do is that, they need to focus on the business of educating, because the complicating factor of poverty really is something that we have to society has to dig in. And how are we going to fix the communities and strengthen the community so teachers can teach and kids can learn. I like the wraparound services. I think that's also important, and that you try to build. You do build. It's not you try to. You build authentic relationships, and I think that carries a lot of weight, because you're showing up 1,000%, every day, and finding the best in what's there. Congratulations to you, to the school, for your accomplishments. Great job on your partnerships. Logan, I'm a big fan of Logan, big fan of the CEB and Linda Jennings. So I think that all that's headed in the right direction, and I look forward to having you back on the show so you can tell me about the progress that you're making in the 25-26 school year.
Look forward to it, and thank you for the work at First Aid Educate.
Thank you. All right, and to our listeners, thanks for joining us. Feel free to check out the Knowledge Hub, and we look forward to seeing you again on another edition of the Leading Together podcast.